We're back here in Lillehammer, Norway. Second day of action on this opening weekend of the EBERSPA Luge World Cup. The Hunderfossen track on a relatively warm day, considering we're at the northernmost venue in the world as far as tracks go. A little bit of a surprise out of the qualifying group in run number one. Germany's Grancagnolo finds himself in third place. Ahead of him, Olympic medalist Wolfgang Kindl in second. But they're all chasing the man they chased all of last season, Germany's Max Langenhan. Max ran away with the World Cup overall last year with 7 victories, and he has the early lead and a pretty big lead. We'll check out the standings in a little moment when we get to our second run start list, but I'm pleased to reintroduce from Team USA, a winner right here on this very track on the World Cup, Summer Britcher. Summer, you talked a lot about it in run number one. Let's talk about the warm temperatures.
That's right. Last season, we were no strangers to warm conditions while racing, but the past 2 weeks here in Lillehammer, we've had really cold conditions, really nice hard ice. Yesterday, during the opening World Cups of the season, we had really cold conditions, and now today we've seen a shift and warmer ice, warmer conditions that I'm not sure if this men's field was quite prepared for.
No track record, but earlier in the day, American Tucker West set a start record, taking over the best mark by a pretty wide margin over the starting legend, Johannes Ludwig. So West has that going for him, which is nice. Now we have this all new 3D animation, a look at the track, the Hunderfossen track, which was built in the early 90s in preparation for the 1994 Winter Olympic Games. Cool graphic and a very challenging ride from top to bottom. And we'll take another look from start to finish. From the men's start, 16 curves, nearly 1,400 meters in length. That actually, Summer, makes it one of the longer tracks, doesn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, the mile mark hasn't been reached in years in the sliding sports. So here we go. Tell us what the challenges are, what the speed feels like.
So it's a really long start ramp, not too steep here into the first curve. So it's an opportunity for the strong starters to really build some time. These transitions, I think, have been a little tricky for some of the competitors this week. We're coming out of curve 3 here into curve 4. This is where the rest of the competitors start. Into curve 5, and this one, you really need to set you up for this curve here, curve 6. It's, I think, the longest curve on the track, turning, I think, more than 180 degrees into the labyrinth. This is a really flat section of the track, really short curves, so it's so important to stay calm and have those transitions just right into 3 left-hand curves in a row, which will then send us into one of the trickier sections of the track, curves 12 and 13. 13, you have to be early, you have to be smooth, because if you are not perfect, that exit will send you into the wall. And then the last few curves here is the last opportunity to really build some speed, and it's going uphill here through curve 16, so any mistakes are really going to cost you.
In run number 1, Summer predicted there would be a track record. I was too chicken to bet her against that, and I would have won. But the track record remains held by the Russian Zeman Pavlichenko. Russia not on hand again this year in the World Cup, but all of these athletes are the top 20 from run number 1. They will go from slowest to fastest. Look at those split times on the right. That will generally give you an indication of who could potentially make a move. For example, Felix Loch, not too far off of the podium, with a more favorable start time, but they're all chasing Kindl and Langenhan. Actually very close between Germany and Austria for second and third right now. But bear in mind, one of the big stories, you mentioned this, and it's someone who knows luge knows that a good number of those people in the top 10 right now went very early in run number 1. And they're not going to go early now.
And we saw some extreme drop-offs in conditions with, where would you say, Tim? At least the last 10 or so sleds were
like
really fighting
17th place.
conditions.
Yeah,
so
right
those last few sleds, it is going to be a battle to hold on to those leads, and we could see some really, really interesting elevator rides and position changes in this second run.
When Andre Manzi went as one of the first after the seeded group, he finished in 20th place, and then he sat and waited, and he stayed in 20th place. And as a result, He leads things off, the 36-year-old from Ukraine, from the city of Kremnitz. We say it about once every day in our coverage. It really could sound cliche, but it bears worth repeating. We're so proud of the Ukrainian program with everything that's going on in their country, that they can persevere and stay competitive in the world of sports.
Absolutely.
And I love the fact that Andre lists as his favorite track Altenburg, and the reason why is he says many crashes. I don't know if he means he crashes many times.
Oof. He's having some big skids through the labyrinth there. You can see his experience in the way he stays really calm while the sled's even a bit out of control. But late to curve 13, a lot of height at the end of the curve. We see him really almost crash, and I think a less experienced athlete might not have stayed on their sled there, but he fixed it pretty quickly, stayed calm.
49.725 is 0.4 of a second faster than run number one. Really, I'm sure you'd say, Summer, mostly as a result of his start order.
I think so, because his run, you see a big mistake there. It's really not a great run. I think he did have some mistakes in his first run as well. But you just see the ice conditions do matter. They impact these athletes quite a bit. And so we might see with him what I said earlier, elevator rides. That's what we say when an athlete keeps moving up. They stay in the leader's box. They stay on the reaction cam because they keep moving up spots. We say they're riding the elevator.
Jessica had never heard that term.
That's what I said, and I went, I don't know if that's actually a well-known term or if that's just
maybe
an American
you should patent
thing,
it.
But well, I certainly didn't come up with it.
Svante Koala had a very impressive, for a small nation, 20th place finish at the Olympics in Beijing. Now he slides second off the hill here in run number two. He lists his favorite track as Königssee due to the S curves. A lot of people love that track in Bavaria, and they will be finishing that up this year, competing again next year on one of the sport's faves.
Which it's so exciting to have Königssee back on the World Cup Tour next year. But I'm a little nervous with it being the last race before the Olympics. It is a favorite among so many athletes, but it is a challenging track, and we haven't slid on it in a few years. So that'll be a very, very exciting race to watch and participate in, hopefully.
Big lead right now for Svante. They say that the track will be built pretty much in the exact same way it was, other than moving the men's start down a little bit. 49.216 is second run time. How does that compare to the first?
I think it's quite a bit faster.
Yes, 7/10, almost 0.8 of a second. Great job by Svante, who will team up with his sister later today in the mixed singles debut event.
And a 49.2 would have been a top 12 in the first run.
Wow. Okay. And you know, Svante had a couple of those crazy weather day top 6, top 7 finishes last season after run number one. Fell back in run number two.
That's right.
But that was kind of cool to see. David Nussler had a lot of trouble. He could have really been in a lot better position had he been clean in run number one. The German went off early. He was third off the hill, and his troubles began pretty early, didn't they, Summer?
I think so. Was it a mistake on the start that he had, I believe?
Right, or curve 2-3, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's definitely looking to improve upon that. He does already have over a 3/10 lead on Svante.
He only raced half of last season. Not sure if he was injured the second half. He did have a couple of top 10 results.
He is building on that lead, so he's already up to 4.5 tenths. We're hearing and seeing really smooth transitions. Nice level curve 10. We'll see how that sets him up here. I think I might have heard a little bit of a skid in curve 11. Kind of middle to 13. Really beautiful exit there.
Threatening to open up nearly a full second advantage over the other two here as he crosses with a track record.
I knew it, Tim.
38.163. Glad I didn't bet.
I'm glad he proved me right by 2 tenths. Track record, and he's disappointed. He knows he could have maybe done that in the first run, but I'm wondering if the ice conditions are faster this second run, if they've we figured out the conditions a bit, and if we'll see everyone going a bit quicker, I sure hope so.
1 second up on the other two. And you know the next 3 or 4, Alex Ferlazzo coming up soon, Bergens, Apriots, they are licking their chops. They cannot get to those handles fast enough.
They want the good ice as well, everyone. I think the next few sleds will certainly be safe. I'm hoping the conditions hold up, but it's going to be interesting.
All right, an opportunity now for Alex Ferlazzo. As we mentioned, he had a 5th place finish. He's on deck. But here's Kaspars Rinks, 17th after run number 1. One of 3 Latvians here in the 11 to 20 group after run 1.
A little bit slower on the start time than I think we're going to need to see here. But similar to his first run start time, actually. He is in the green, but not by much. He's going to need to put down a really nice run. But David looked so good in the last few curves of the track. He was really calm, really stretched back on the sled.
Right, this figures to get to red pretty quickly, 5 thousandths of a second there.
Late to curve 13, but if he handles it well, it'll be all right.
Nice.
It was a nice exit, not quite as nice as David's, but
now looping in curve
loop
15.
In curve
14 is that?
15, and he hit the wall before 16 there.
So it lost a fair amount of time, about a quarter of a second on the bottom third of the track. Nussler hopes to hang there for a while. And on these warm days, you don't even have to put a jacket on.
No.
What was it? Was it the women's sprint event at the World Championships last year where Natalie and Julia and I forget 3 of them were, Alina were in the leader's box for 15 sleds.
Quite a while.
Warm day, doing dances. Right, here's Alex Ferlazzo of Australia, 29 years old. Latvians are pleased with what's happened so far. Now, Alex, just like Nussler, has the opportunity here to clean it up and really put down a good run. Maybe not a track record, but could hold to his spot.
And he does have a 2/10 lead.
Ferlazzo lives in winter year-round. He goes back to Australia after the season, just as winter is beginning.
He looks really good on the sled. If he can maintain this, he's lost some of his lead. Slightly rough on those exits. A little early to curve 11 and late to 12 here. Let's see how he handles it.
This will likely move into the red. It does, but can he keep it close? 400ths at the second to last interval, and not bad there in the finish curves.
I think he'll only drop the 1 spot behind David here. Oh, third. Wow.
Yeah, so Kaspars Rinks just ahead of him by 7 thousandths of a second. Alex Ferlazzo right now currently in 3rd place. And potentially looking at as bad as a 19th place finish, which I think probably is disappointing. Every result last year, but one for Alex last year, was a top 15.
I think when he came down in 3rd, so 18th, right? Or
18th.
I think he might have a chance of moving up a few spots here still.
Well, especially if the track slows down,
and a
right?
lot of these sleds are kind of within a close range here. I mean, within a 10th of him, it goes, I think, 5 sleds.
Right.
Yeah,
in fact,
Rinks and Nussler, both their exits out of 13 were beautiful. Not cutting any ice, not costing any time, and to build that into the last 3 curves really makes a difference.
Anton Dukash is another one of those athletes. We were talking a little earlier about Svante. Anton, and a couple of those crazy weather days in the last few seasons, I think in one race he was actually even in podium position after run number 1. Fell back to 9th or 10th place or something like that. But it's fun when these smaller nations breathe that rarefied air.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see more depth of field within the whole field and competitiveness across the tour. And I think we see that a lot. We're seeing that a lot more in the doubles fields recently. A
lot of Ukrainian viewers watching live on YouTube. Well, So, yeah, he was late in, so that was a delayed effect, right?
It's laid in, and then it makes it's so tricky because it's a double pressure curve, and you either have to really work with those pressures and fight them to have it be one smooth arc, or we say loop the curve if you see someone gain a significant height more than once. You have to time those loops and work them to have a smooth exit. So yeah, he goes late here. It makes it tricky. He really tries to hit that first steer. We see him come low and then high on the end, and then there's just so much pressure coming out of the curve. He's trying to fix it, but it is really challenging there.
Nussler stays out in front, but this was the closest anyone had come to him in the last few sleds. And so now we'll see what Josef Ninis can do. Swedish flags flying earlier for Svante Koala, who still remains in the top 5 in the standings in the early going. Ninis 14th after run number 1. There you see is roughly 0.3 of a second to play with on David Nussler of Germany. Ninis began in the sport in 1991, which is about the time that you began in life.
Not quite.
Before you began in life, right?
Yeah. And again, you can see his experience on the sled. He's so pushed back, very relaxed.
This should hang on pending any major problem here. 1300s, he does have a skid, lost half of that lead.
Is the track short enough for him to hold on or long enough?
No, he loses it just in the last corner. So Ninis actually falls behind Nussler and Dukash. It's interesting to place a number on that. He had the lead right up until curve 13, and in the end, he was 1500ths back, which luge-wise is a lot of time to give up at the bottom without a lot of mistakes, just the little tap.
It is, but that little tap will cost, and what led to the little tap as well. So not having a smooth curve 13, looping that curve, we see the foot tap on the end as the most significant thing, but what leads to those pressures out of there causing that is costing time as well.
For people watching and trying to determine what's a good run and what's a not good run, which is more costly, Summer? Tapping a wall lightly or skidding lightly?
Oof.
Let's just say they were exclusive.
I'm going to give some really good information, and I'm going to say it depends.
Depends. I mean, often the two go hand in hand.
It depends.
I realize that.
Yeah, and I think it depends on where you're hitting the wall. If you're online while you're hitting the wall, I think it would be safe to say a skid costs more. But yeah, it depends. If you're, and we're seeing big
a lot
skids
of skids
there,
here by
and those are going to
Ginsberg.
cost him quite a bit, especially through the labyrinth section. He has a 1/10 of a lead. I would be surprised to see him hold on to it after those mistakes. It's in the red.
We have seen this trend a lot. Green until the bottom third of the track, turning red. Berzinch falls back 5 positions. And I'm getting the sense that if you do make a mistake at one part of this track, it really starts to reflect maybe 3 curves later, maybe 2 intervals away.
Yes, and that is kind of what we see at most tracks. You're not going to see it immediately unless it's a massive mistake, but it will compound, and you will see it later. Bumped a little bit early onto curve 1 there, a little higher than he wants, and we just see him already skidding there. High there, sliding off the curve, skidding then. I think it looks like he really does not have quite enough control.
Nussler of Germany continuing to lead the way. Now things are going to get interesting. We're to our top 12. 9 of these remaining athletes of the 12 have won World Cup races, including Latvia's Kristers Apriots, who last year was in 2nd in the overall. And this is where we were talking between runs, Summer. This is the group of athletes we think have the potential to make the best move.
That's right. What an interesting stat. What a field to have in these top 12. He's over 3/10 in the green. His run's looking good. The ice is holding up.
Yeah, that 3/10 roughly is about what he started with, so he hasn't lost any, but he certainly wants to start to pick it up.
Gaining a tiny bit there. And I think if he really nails this exit, which he's looping, well, I spoke too soon. We're going to see that drop probably at least a 10th, probably 2.
It's going to be interesting to see how much, because that will give us a sense. He lost about 2/10 of a second.
Yep.
He hangs on to his spot, top 12, perhaps gave away an opportunity to knock on the door of the next few sleds, but we'll see in a moment.
Yeah, I think if he had a really nice even curve 13 here, this is the 12-13 transition. He's late to curve 13, which is going to make the sled shoot up high, drop low, and then have height on the end. A lot of height on the end there. So honestly, with how much he looped that curve, he did a pretty good job of keeping the sled under control, but I think he could have come down in the lead if he had kept that clean.
Martins Rabenis, former Olympic medalist, longtime coach and sled technician here for the Latvian program, grabs the sled. Krister's done for the day, but will probably be competing as one of 2 sibling teams a little later on today.
Yeah, sorry, he did come down in the lead. I meant he could have come down with the track record if he had kept that clean.
True. He does have the lead. Jonas Mueller only a 2/1000th of a second advantage over Abriots to start a run here for, oh, this is Nico, right?
This is
Jonas. Yeah.
Jonas Mueller.
Mueller captured the World Sprint Championship in Oberhof 2 seasons ago. Also has a race World Cup wins on his home track in Innsbruck, where we'll be next week.
His lead is shrinking, but again, Krister's made some pretty big mistakes down bottom in the track. So down to 5/1000ths, I think we'll see this go into the red, but if he's clean, see in the red. If he nails this, nice. I think we will see him regain the green and come in down in first. And
good call, Summer Britcher. 137.869 by 1800ths of a second. Austria, there's a grouping of them, Jonas and the Gleicher brothers, coming up in a moment, and they're all looking to make their move at least into the top 8. Peter Pence there on the left is an Olympic medalist in doubles luge back in 2018 with Georg Fischler.
Small loop in curve 10 here, but that is not bad. It's a line of choice for most people. He cut a little bit of ice on the exit of 13 there, but that's really a small issue when we're seeing a lot of athletes having major mistakes there.
Quickly putting on the hat to give the sponsors some love. And here's Tucker West. Keep an eye on this start. Tucker West shattered the start record in run number 1.
Oh, no.
And what happened there?
Oh, he had quite a bit of direction off the handles, a bit of an uneven pull. He did keep the sled from hitting the wall, but he lost all the power he could have developed in his start. So that's going to really cost him down the track. We've seen a few of the athletes make that mistake.
The American really has struggled with consistency over the past several seasons. When he's on, he's one of the best in the world, including his World Cup victories, a 4th place finish at the World Championship last year.
Look at him on this sled, though. He looks amazing. And that's, I was talking about this earlier. When athletes, there's something with the sports psychology of this. When athletes make a mistake at the top of the track, there's 2 possible outcomes. They either have a horrible run everywhere, or they go, okay, whatever, the run is over, it doesn't matter, and they lay down a really high quality run. And that's what we saw out of Tucker. Huge mistake on the start, but what a beautiful run.
4th place, he'll drop 3 spots potentially out of the top 10.
See, he really, so much direction off the handles. He had to fight almost paddling with just one hand to keep it off the wall, but shows his experience and his strength to be able to get that sled to not hit the wall. That could have been so much worse. A little late to 13 here, but really hits that first steer. Pretty smooth out.
And great form down at the bottom.
Great form.
Yeah, we've seen that shrug too many times from Tucker. A little disappointing. He'll compete a little later on today, potentially with you as a teammate. And now we have Nico Gleicher, former skier, brother of an Olympic champion, son of a former World Cup race winner in the sport of luge. Nico opened up the season 2 years ago on his home track in Innsbruck with a pair of victories.
Always a great way to start the season. He looks really good on the sled right now. Quite high in the beginning of curve 6 there, but staying really calm. A little high on the end of 7 and late to curve 8. But he is keeping good position. He's into the green now against his own teammate. Late to 12.
1,000th of a second, the differential between the two Austrians. Exit of 13, not bad.
Beautiful exit. Beautiful exit.
This should put Nico safely into the lead in no worse than 9th place. Track record 137.763. Right now it is Austria 1 and 2 in the standings with another Austrian set to go next. I was told that a number of lugers went and watched the ski jumping last week, and then they took all of those horns and cowbells with them from the jumping and brought them here to the luge.
That's great. Very cool to have the two World Cups from different sports back to back here in Lillehammer. Now, if we're seeing track records this late in the run, I think the ice must be holding up pretty well.
Yeah, that's a great sign. And we've got 2 Olympic champions coming up next. So let's see what kind of move David can make on his brother. And speaking of their father, I'd like to say a shout out to Gerhard and Sabine, watching back home at Innsbruck, I'm sure. As David Gleicher paddles 4 times, settles quickly down the center of that ramp. Ooh, but he looked like he's having trouble there.
Hitting the wall before curve 2, that's, I think, probably going to cost him any chance of coming down in the lead here. He might drop a few spots. He's already almost 2/10 back. Really level curve 6. It's just, you can't make a mistake like that at the top of the track.
.28. He was .27. The only thing he can hope for is have a great bottom part of this track.
And a small slam and off the curve and feet down out of curve 13.
He'll be looking at a 5th, 6th place, perhaps. Austria was in a position to be 1, 2, 3 at the moment, but that's not going to happen. It's a 6th place showing for David Gleicher as he will head to his home track. I mean, the insult to injury there, Summer, of course, is he gave away any chance of racing later today.
That's right. I'm not sure how, really, I guess, how anyone is determining these spots. It's a new event, so all the nations, all the national federations have had to write new policies, come up with new procedures for how they'll pick the athletes to compete in the mixed events.
How many nations do the coin toss? None?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'd have to poll that one.
Maybe they just save that for the Olympic decisions.
The really tough ones.
Felix Loch, now 35 years old. How many people in the history of the sport can say they are a 15-time national champion? Felix can make that claim. Also a 2-time Olympic gold medalist and the 2nd winningest World Cup athlete in the history of this sport. Felix looks in great physical shape this year.
He really does. A little high on the end of curve 7 there, but he's really staying calm on the sled. You're seeing his experience. He's a very talented slider, and we're seeing that in this run. He wants to hold the lead. He knows what it takes. Very smooth exit of curve 13, almost a 2/10 lead.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Felix really has a good opportunity to move up several spots.
2 more tenths on that track record, actually.
Right.
I think it was 5. a minute ago, 2 minutes ago?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, wow.
Third track record of the run, late in run number 2. How many times have we seen this on the World Cup that Felix sits in anywhere from 7th to 12th place after run number 1 and then just nails it in the second heat?
You know, enough times I'm starting to wonder if it's a strategy or a superstition or something. Because you're right, it is a common, maybe he likes the pressure.
The quintessential
he likes
saving
to be the
best
underdog
for last.
in the second run.
Yeah. As opposed to what happened in run number 4 in Pyeongchang, where everyone was just anointing him, and he was the front runner. Yes, coming from behind might be better. Well, let's look at these split times, Summer. Felix now has the lead. Leon has about a 500ths advantage and a lot less experience. Gustafsson, another 300ths, a lot less experience.
Now, you're right. We said in the first run or after the first run, these athletes had better ice conditions, good ice conditions. But the ice is holding up this run. So I think they have the opportunity to go just as fast.
Leon keeping it within a 10th, but as you saw, he was already in the red right at that first split interval.
He was, and I think with the run that Felix put down, these next few athletes might be looking to just only drop the 1 spot. That might be the goal. I mean, obviously their goal is to come down in number 1, but realistically watching it, I'll be impressed if they can keep it. And we're seeing almost a 4/10 gap, so he will drop a few spots here.
Like so many Italian athletes, Leon Felder, a product of the Natural Track Luge program. He will stay somewhere around the top 10, pending what happens with the last few athletes. So for Leon Felder, not a bad way to open up the season. He had one 9th place finish last year, one 10th place finish last year, or a pair of them. So he seems somewhat relieved.
Bit high there. Not such a smooth transition. You see him getting a nice exit of 13, though, and that is impressive. I think we've seen just a handful of athletes have a truly good exit of curve 13 in this second run.
Final American, Johnny Gustafsson, opened up last season with a 5th place finish on his home track in Lake Placid, New York. As Summer has alluded to, with many of these athletes in the top 10, Johnny went early, finishing 3rd in the Nations Cup qualifying, and really needs to be nothing short of perfect just to hold his top 5 spot.
He does have a lead off the start. I don't think this is a position Johnny's been in too frequently to be in such good contention after the first run. So this is a question of if he can put it together. He's been sliding really well. Can he keep that consistency in this run?
And test his mental strength.
Absolutely. He's looking pretty smooth on the sled.
8
really pushing it back.
Should turn red. It does turn red. Now the question is keeping it close. And
just
we've seen
Americans
pick up time down at the bottom this weekend.
That's right. Nice exit of curve 13 and only 500ths.
Very likely.
He's going to lose a bit more time, but he has a chance to keep it just the 1 spot.
Second place? Yeah,
Second
just
place.
the 1 spot.
There we go.
That's a great showing for, you know, I don't know how closely you're paying attention at the top, whether everyone knows what Felix just did and whether Johnny realistically knew that second was the goal.
I think he might have had the expectation of, you know, keeping it within a few spots, keeping a top certain amount. I'm not sure. I don't know what his mind games are there, what his mindset is, but he did a really nice job, a beautiful run out of Johnny, and he's at least in the top 6, and he's happy. We see that.
This one? Where's the new one?
It's been a good weekend for the Americans, who have placed a lot of sleds in the top 10 in all of the races, and now we focus our attention back to the top, to the man who has won here in Lillehammer each of the last 2 World Cups, 2018 and 2020. Olympic bronze medalist Dominik Fischnaller, 31 years old, lives in the luge happy town of Mieransen in South Tyrol.
Luge happy town.
Yeah,
I like that.
They love their luge. They're very happy about it.
All, if not almost all of their athletes come from Mieransen.
Right.
Just about all of them.
99% of the lugers I ever have covered from Italy are from South Tyrol.
He has a decent amount of a lead. This next split will really tell us if Dominic has a chance, and he's holding that lead.
Felix was incredibly fast down here and incredibly clean. Dominic has the potential. And this is going to be close, Summer.
Little late to curve 13, but nice exit. Only 5 thousandths.
So trending in the wrong direction. He should stay ahead of Gustafsson, but behind Loch. Dominic Fischnaller, no, falls behind the American as well. So he bled a lot of time down there at the bottom, roughly 12 hundredths or so.
I'm wondering, we did see him get late to curve 13, and he was able to fix it really well. But to fix that, it's a lot of steering. And anytime you're really steering the sled, the steels are cutting into the ice, and that's costing you momentum.
Johnny Gustafsson officially has his best result ever on the World Cup. Now it's going to get fun for you, Summer, because he has a very legitimate chance to make it onto the podium.
Sitting in second place with 3 sleds remaining.
Right, and Timon up next. Not too experienced, although Grancagnolo has a 10th up on Gustafsson. Felix Loch is also now 1 position away from the podium. Timon with a good start time. 11th fastest, but good enough to, Felix's starts have slowed down over the last several years. He finds his time down at the bottom. Timon looked great in run number 1.
He did. He's already losing some time. Let's see here. Pretty smooth. He's laying back. He's losing just a few more hundredths. Big loop in 10, but really smooth into 11. 300th lead. Nice entrance to 13, but a bit of a loop. And he's in the red.
Now he's falling behind. How much does he lose? Does he fall behind the American as well?
A bit of a skid in 14-15. This will be close.
Second place. So Felix Loch, Timon Grancagnolo, Germany 1-2. Johnny Gustafsson has officially matched his best World Cup result ever, pending what happens. He'll do no worse than 5th place, but Felix is on the podium. Unbelievable. Loch does this every week.
I think maybe
every week.
Maybe it's a strategy. I don't know. Or not a strategy, but maybe it worked really well one time and he's superstitious.
You've been around as long as he has. You can create your own strategies. Final 2 now. An Olympic medalist and World champion, I should say, Wolfgang Kindl, will be followed by the defending World Cup champion, Max Langenhan. See, Wolfie's advantage over Felix is pretty healthy. It's about 0.2 of a second, right? He gives it away a lot here at the start. But then Wolfie creates the magic. 36-year-old Wolfgang Kindl grew up not too far from the track in Eagles.
Still over 1/10 of a lead. Really smooth in the labyrinth here. I would say he's not having ideal lines, but he makes the lines he's taking through the labyrinth smoother than what I've seen some athletes take a perfect line.
Here's the signature spot on the course, and he comes through with flying
really
colors.
Nice exit.
That should be a safe enough lead to hold on to his spot. Podium yesterday in doubles, podium today in men's singles. Wolfgang Kindl of Austria in the lead with 1 remaining. There will also be 2 German sleds on the podium, but we still need to determine the names and faces to go with those spots. This is not Wolfie's strong suit, but he still needs to be clean at the start, and he was. He's actually improved the starts over the last 4 or 5 years.
And something interesting you can see with generally like the men's field compared to other fields is sometimes you see the sled darting with each paddle. It's because they're so strong, but they're also so much more top heavy. So their center of gravity on the start is so much higher because they typically carry a lot more of their weight in their upper bodies.
Great point. World Cup champion, you can barely read it. The black on black on that bib. You love that, right, Summer? And the World Cup overall champion, Max Langenhan, the winningest athlete in this sport over the past 2 seasons. He looks very calm as he settles down into the sled with nearly a 0.2 of a second advantage over the Austrian.
Yeah, I mean, this is his normal position to be in. He is no stranger to being in first place after the first run, so I don't think we're seeing any nerves at play here. Max is comfortable here.
Kindl and Loch, Olympic medalists, are already on the podium. Max Langenhan looks to make his strong case to defend his World Cup overall.
Really smooth exit of 12. Could have been a little better there.
He's skidding a little bit. But now it looks like a victory, few final curves as Max Langenhan picks up where he left off last season. He wins this race. Not as safe a margin as he did to open up last year, but 0.02 of a second, Max Langenhan, the winner here in Lillehammer. And right here, this site here, Summer, is something you would not have seen 5 years ago when East and West in Germany, Bavaria and Thuringen, they were sort of bigger rivals, and that rivalry still exists. But these two have become really good training partners and friends.
I think so. And yeah, really smooth exit of curve 12 there. A little late to 13, but very smooth with his correction. We see this mistake here. If the track had been longer, just a bit longer, we would be seeing a different winner today because he only won by 0.02.
Langenhan, this is World Cup career win number 16 for Max Langenhan, still just 25 years old. Handshakes all around. And business as usual. As I said, with apologies to everyone, at the end of last season, the only thing that Max has lost in the last few years is a few more hair particles. But I'm one to talk,
well, I
right?
don't know how many apologies you say it a second time. I don't know.
So
I would like to say I'm so sorry for saying this, and let me repeat it so everyone knows what I was sorry for.
Congratulations, Langenhan, over Kindl and Loch. You will meet them in a moment as we interview the top 3. Team in Grancagnolo with a career best 4th, and Johnny Gustafsson with a career equaling 5th place finish as the FIL president, Einars Vogelis, passes out the chocolate to the top 3. And then there's an award ceremony a little later on, which is they give out trophy or medals. What was that, like CDs?
Oh, it's regular medals, but then they had a plaque for track records and start records, which I think is a really cool celebration of accomplishment of the athletes and of the crew here in Lillehammer.
So your teammate Tucker will be at the ceremony later today to collect that.
That's right.
Ultimately, the last to set this track record today was Felix, right?
I think so, with a 3,
right.
48.3.
Latvia.
48.371.
Latvia and Italy have been experiencing somewhat of a rough weekend. 1 podium for those 2 nations combined. It's really been a show for Austria, Germany, and the United States so far. Well, 3rd place to Felix Loch, the great Olympic champion and the 2nd winningest athlete in the history of World Cup competition. 2nd to Wolfgang Kindl, another veteran who started the same year as Felix, way back in 2007. But the newcomer to the German program, at least compared to Felix, is Max Langenhan. He's been the most dominant in the sport. Let's hear from the top athletes.
Felix, P3 today. How challenging was the warmer weather for you? It was a little bit challenging because the conditions to the training was different, but we do some changes on the sled for the first run and also for the second run, and with my mechanic, with Christian, I think it was a good decision to do this, and perfect day. So with track record in the second run, I'm really happy. Thank you.
Great to hear Felix speaking a little bit of English, and congratulations on the third place finish. Wolfgang Kindl being interviewed for the second time this weekend.
Wolfgang, congratulations on P2. How was it for you today? How was your performance?
Yeah, the conditions were totally different than in training. It was really, really soft today. We had the same in doubles yesterday, but today it was even softer. So it was difficult to find the right setup. But I think we worked really well. All of our material trainer, coaches, and me myself also. I think the performance was really great. There were some little mistakes inside, so the 200s could have been possible, but I'm totally happy with the P2 today. Congratulations. Thanks.
Great opening weekend for Wolfie, who suffered from illness for a good part of the summer and started training late. The victory to Max Langenhan once again.
Max, winning the World Cup overall last season and now winning the first race today. How do you feel going into this new season?
I feel great. It was like a bit sketchy out of 13 in the second run, but I was so happy if I came to the finish and saw the one on the numbers. I was really, really happy for me.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, Summer, we have the mixed relay event debuting in just a few minutes here in Lillehammer. Give us, from your perspective, an athlete's perspective, a little preview of what we should expect.
I think we should expect a really exciting race. I'm so excited to watch the doubles and then compete in the singles mixed event later today. We'll see something really cool, which is international teams in this event. So we're going to see teams teaming up that might not have competitors in both of the fields, but they can join nations, still compete, and I think we're going to see a phenomenal event.
Well, great job, Summer, as always, with the commentary, but you're not done. Good luck in the race later today.
Thank you.
We've got that first mixed doubles competition coming up in just under a half hour. Until then, for Summer Britcher and our entire crew, I'm Tim Singer. So long for now from Lillehammer, and thanks for joining us.